Hey there, it's Robin, and you're listening to Healthy Habits for a Healthier Home. I'm here to help you create a healthier life, one simple shift at a time. If you're a mama ready to ditch toxins, clean up your family's nutrition, and build daily habits that support your well-being, you're definitely in the right place. Each episode is packed not only with education, but practical tips and tools to help you transform your health and your home without that feeling of overwhelm. So let's take this journey together to create a thriving, low-tox home for you and your family. If you're ready, say, I am ready. Now let's get into this episode. Hey, you guys, before we get started with today's amazing episode, I just wanted to let you know a couple of things. Number one, Mona Cleaning, who we are interviewing today, I've been using her all-purpose cleaner and I absolutely love it. The smell is amazing and the cleaning, it actually cleans. And so 2 thumbs up from me. And the other cool thing is that they are just releasing refillables. So I love that because it's eco-friendly. Once you use the bottle that you have when you first purchase, then you can just order the refills and we don't have to waste as much plastic. I know you guys are going to get a lot out of today. It's a great swap. She's got a couple of products. Her story is amazing, and I'm excited for you guys to meet her. So without further ado, let's go. Hey, y'all. Welcome back. I am excited to introduce you today to Mona. I can't wait to hear her story to see how she transitioned, but she currently has a cleaning product company called Cleaning Mama. But before she got to creating the products, she had a situation arise that challenged her, that made her kind of pivot to then want to create these products. So I'm very excited. I know today you guys are going to walk away with not only some education, but a new swap. And, you know, we're always talking about swaps because they're so important to have clean, healthy things within our home so that our environment is, you know, as non-toxic as possible. So welcome, Mona. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me, Robin.
Absolutely. So for people who don't quite know you yet, how did your story start? You didn't just wake up one day and say, "Oh, I'm going to create some cleaning products," right? So how did this journey get started for you?
I come from a corporate background.
Mm-hmm.
So I have lived my life deadlines, meeting bottom lines, you know, and I got to a point where I was really burnt out. I just didn't have purpose anymore in my life. And so from there, I took a break. And that's when I realized I actually do love cleaning, because cleaning for me was like a way to distress, you know, put the kids to bed. Then I get into it, cleaning my bathroom, cleaning the kitchen. So then I decided I'm going to clean homes. And so that's how it started. And then from there, when I was cleaning homes, I just felt sick most of the time, to be honest, Robin. I was cleaning 2 to 3 homes and then cleaning my home when I come back from work. So I just didn't understand why I was sick all the time. I was lethargic. I started actually noticing that my hormones were way imbalanced.
Pause. I want to pause for 1 second because first of all, I want to recognize that you recognized that your job was burning you out. And I think as women, we have had this belief for the last 10, 15 years that it was our duty to be the woman with a career job that climbs the ladder, but then also has the family, is the mom at home. And again, I'm not discounting dads because dads are amazing, but the mental load for the mom and the emotional load for the mom is very different from the dad. And so we find ourselves in this really tricky situation because we are worthy, you know, we are very intelligent as women, and we have purpose. But when we think that we're supposed to be on this ladder to something, we mostly realize that that's not truth. It's just something that we've been told by society that needs to be shifted. And so obviously you came up against that at some point where you felt like you were getting burned out in the corporate life. And not that there's anything wrong with that. And if you can balance it and that's your personality, that's great. But there's also nothing wrong with taking a pause and reevaluating careers, right? And careers something that I was
Yeah.
taught is that it's a primary food. So we have primary and
Hmm.
secondary foods, and primary foods are all things off your plate that feed your soul. And if we're not balancing those and really, honoring ourselves in those, there's no way we're going to be our healthiest version. So I just want for people that are listening,
Absolutely.
wherever you
I
are
think
in life, you can pivot and it's okay. And pivot to something where you feel like you are having purpose and meaning. And it kind of sounds like that's what you did. And I love that. I love that about your story because it shows women what is possible.
absolutely. And Robin, thank you for bringing that up because I always used to have this cape on, Superwoman, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And Superwoman does not take her cape off all day, every day. And so I think you raising that, it's really hard to pivot because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's like, why is she moving from corporate? She was doing so well. It's like more than a decade of doing so well in that industry. Why would you move and go to something lower?
Well, it depends
Um,
on, I think that's a lens, right? I mean, is it lower or are you
exactly.
actually just aligning with your real true purpose and
Fulfillment. Yeah.
fulfilling your soul, right? Like,
Yes.
so I do see what you're saying, and that is the common language that goes around this. But as you see, and as I've learned and see in other people, that's just a story that we've been told or tell ourselves, and we just have to rewire that story a little bit. So I'm
I love
proud of
that.
you for like taking that leap because I
Thank
think
you.
that's where real transformation, gets started.
Okay.
So as your journey continued, you didn't obviously feel good because you were using toxic cleaning products, I assume.
I was using toxic cleaning products, and most of the time, obviously, we want the client's home to be clean, right?
Yes. Yes.
So obviously getting the hot water stains off the shower. I'm such a perfectionist.
Yeah.
So all my clients, I would even say to my clients, hey, listen, this extra hour, you don't need to pay for it. I just need to make sure I've done the job. Wow. So I was using very harsh chemicals. But it's very interesting because in the home that I grew up in, from my childhood, it was a very health conscious home. Then when I got out of, went to college and then, you know, got into my own home, I just started using just the traditional cleaners, right? But it just brought me back to my childhood. And I was like, wow, I was at my healthiest at that time. So using those products, coming back home, tired, hormonal imbalance, not feeling happy. But I knew I loved cleaning. So I went back and started researching on cleaning products. And I realized a lot of us don't read the ingredients. We don't. And so we get into this cycle of, oh, I have sinus, but probably allergic to something, to an ingredient in in the cleaning product. So I started reading on those, and I saw how it alters, especially women. It alters the estrogen levels in your body over time. So that's when I became obsessed. I will say I really became obsessed. You know, when you come back home and you just researching, I was on Google all day, every day. And then I started just mixing together some household cleaning products, like cleaning stuff, just baking soda, essential oils, which my mom used from when I was a little girl. And so a lot of trial and error, I must say. But I started realizing, okay, baking soda does, do the job. It takes out all those stains from the sink, the kitchen sink. So that gave me a different perspective about cleaning products. So I
So I
think
want to
that,
pause for 1 second because there's definitely a few things that I think are very worthy of talking about. And the first thing that I heard you say was, when you lived at home as a child, you came from a certain environment. And this is what I'm up against right now as a mom with older children, 22 and 19. And while they are living with you and under your roof, yes, it was very challenging. And the first thing I experienced was that non-toxic like transformation of cleaning products. That was one of the very first things that I did due to one of my children's health condition when I started researching. And, when they live under your roof, we take on that challenge as an adult, and you're going to do anything for being a mama bear and protecting your children. And so, yes, it was challenging, but it wasn't an option for me. Like, it was just, I'm going to learn about this and I'm going to make the changes needed so that my kids can thrive. What I have found is obviously a lot of swaps and great things over the last 10, 15 years, but what I'm now facing is my kids being on their own and trying to navigate this insane world. And as much as I know they know how to read ingredients and how to do things, it's very difficult to be in college or right out of college trying to navigate life and the insanity of the grocery store, whether it's the cleaning product aisle, the personal care product, the foods. It's so much overwhelmed for them. And my kids know, just like you knew, but it's like you just can only do so much. And so you just think
Life
it's
gets in
not
the
that
way.
big. And you think it's not that big of a deal. How could it
Yeah.
really disrupt my endocrine system? How can it really mess with my
Mhm.
hormones? Like, how is that even without having a fully developed brain, right? It's hard to imagine that these things would affect you at 19 and 22. But reality is it does, especially when you come from a home where things have already been sort of transitioned. So that was last year when I got into food advocacy and more like into the policy part of things. It was because I was mad, right? I'm mad that my kids have to go through this. And I know they have to go through these challenges like you did to come out the other side to then learn on their own. But it's very infuriating to send your kids out into the world where 90% of it is a boatload of toxins, right? And so
Exactly.
I think it's really
Exactly.
important to there's a few things I might have done differently, like with my kids growing up, that I wanted to just, put out there for others is not only you learning to read ingredients, but explaining it to your kids and having them participate in the
Oh,
process,
yes.
that showing them not to scare them, not to overwhelm them, but to make it normal. And,
Yeah.
what was normal was when I sent my kids to college, I bought them all the stuff, right? Like I get all the cleaning products, all, they know organic versus not, but it's like you go in the grocery store and you're shopping and it's like $3.99 versus $6.99. And in their mind, they're like, well, let's just go with the lesser one, and
The
because it
lesson
makes
one.
more
Yeah.
sense financially because I have a budget now and they're trying to
Yeah.
navigate a budget, so it's very, very, very interesting that was your own experience too. But I'm glad to know
Yeah.
that you could recognize that that could have been a link. And what I'm just curious for you. So when you started doing the research, what was a couple of things ingredient wise that stood out to you that was like, oh, wow, like this could be why I have a headache, or this could be why I'm lethargic or not feeling well every single day?
I
Were there
think
particular?
for me, it was ammonia. Ammonia was the biggest one.
Okay.
Um, because, so again, I go to my childhood. We used to relax our hair and it had ammonia in it. And that smell just
Mm-hmm.
used to give me a headache.
Mm.
So when I started reading the ingredients, I was like, wow, look at all this from back in, using hair products. Now I'm using cleaning products. It's the same ingredient. So when I started reading on it, I realized ammonia does give like sinus issues, headaches, and sodium hydroxide is another one. It's very important for most cleaners to have sodium hydroxide because that's kind of what helps to degrease, right? Um, but according to the AETSDR, there is long-term effects, even with just eyesight issues. So those two ingredients for me, I was like, this is a no-no. But when I started looking at all the products, most products, they have it. And for me, when I was starting to do like the formulation, it was just to find a way around that and to find better natural alternatives for that are more sustainable.
Right. That cause you not to feel the way you were feeling, which I'm sure at
Right.
this point, you have tested things enough. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to trying your products. I think that, for me being in this non-toxic space for a long time, I will say cleaning products are a really sticky area because some of them just don't work, right? Or like I don't like some of the dishwasher pods. I like something from this brand and something from this brand, but it's not like an all inclusive like this brand's for everything. And that's okay at this point in my life because I've done enough research, but to have something that's more of a one stop for cleaning stuff, I think is important. But you're right, some things just don't work as well. So it does take
They
a lot of
just,
trial and error. I love your the fact that you guys do small batch because I think that's also something that really drew me to you because I think small batch production is definitely a way to control what's actually happening because I think a lot of times from my experience talking to people that have produced things, they start small batch and then
yeah,
they can't sustain the small batch. They go to the bigger industry and then they lose control over what's exactly happening. And then you have these people tweaking your formula a little bit, and then it's not as clean as it once was. And I've seen that a lot.
exactly.
So I was really happy to see that you do the small batch formulas.
So I love that you noticed that because that's kind of like my blueprint. And like you're saying, as an entrepreneur, when you start scaling the business, sometimes it's like obviously quantity, volume. You need to push volume
Right.
to be able to meet the quarter. But I have said, and I've been very strong with this to say, as we're going to be growing, I still need to go back to the blueprint, and that's small batch and quality control.
Yeah.
However, whatever that would mean in our strategy, but I definitely will uphold that standard. You know, if you don't stand for something, you fall for anything. So, for everything.
Oh, I
So,
love that.
I truly, truly believe in upholding that standard. And it is painful for an entrepreneur, I must say, Robin, to be honest. But I'm going to be true to that in the business because I want to make sure that that quality is upheld. Every ingredient that goes in there is what we say it is. And I've tried to make sure that the formula is not something that is going to be tweaked at every turn, you know?
Right.
So I'm truly holding on to that. And I hope that
Well, and I think,
our
again,
consumers will appreciate that too.
yes, I agree. And I think that just having that awareness and doing the quality control, I mean, yes, you're going to expand at some point, and yes, you will have bigger batches being made, but I think having the mentality of I need to know what isn't going into every batch and it needs to be, cross multiple checked and knowing ingredients, I think when you go into the bigger batches, when they offer something you will know to say no, and I think for some people when they start in their kitchen doing something and then they go to a manufacturer, they just
Yeah.
trust, that here are my non-negotiables, and then they're like, well, we could just drop a little bit of this in here, and it's like, okay, that defeats the whole purpose. So I think being
That
educated,
defeats
and
the purpose.
obviously you are, is going to help with that quality control, and I think that's a great thing. I think
Absolutely.
that's what I'm looking for in a product when I commit to buying something. And again, I would rather pay a little more to know that I'm getting the best quality than to pay a
Yeah,
little less and then not knowing what I'm getting. So I tend to go,
exactly.
for the smaller businesses until they sell out. And that is another thing that has happened a lot, not with cleaning per se, well, even with some cleaning and some personal care products, but they start out with that
Yeah.
mentality and then they
Mm.
grow enough and then they sell. And I'm not, that's great for business. Like I get that mindset for somebody who's worked their
Yeah,
tail off for 10 years. And then, but when you're selling something to then some company that doesn't have your same standards, but keep your label, it's very confusing for the consumer. I think of Tom's toothpaste because that was like a kind of a funny in our household 15 years ago. My
yeah,
brother's like, if times are tough, like joking, like
yeah.
let me get you some toothpaste. And I was like, boy, you don't even know. Like this toothpaste costs $10. Like yours costs $2.99. It was like
Exactly.
it was kind of a joke, but then that ended up selling out to Colgate. And then I'm like, I lose integrity for that
Unilever,
because
yeah.
you got to real, and again, that's where I always go back to the ingredient reading because
Yeah.
even, and I get the selling because that is a business and it is your livelihood. And that's why people start businesses is to make a livelihood. And I totally, am on board with that. But we as consumers can never let our guards down from checking ingredients, at least every 6 months, just doing a clean swipe through because you'll see if they do sell to somebody, you got to stay on top of that, but you'll see things change because their integrity is different. Their mission is different than what the original starter of the company. So,
Yes.
again, it goes back to ingredient reading, and being transparent.
It goes back to that. And you're so right. I enjoyed listening to Gwen. She was the founder of Laundress.
Mm-hmm.
And when she sold,
Mm-hmm.
it was interesting because she was hurt that
Yeah.
the quality was compromised. And I found it very intriguing that she said people say to her, "But you made so much money, you just walk away. You're not taking the liability." But I get it as a founder because
Yeah.
I'm solving something that bothered me so much, and I want to share it to the world. And I hope consumers also read the ingredients, right? And then some big company takes that and then it's compromised, it will break my heart.
Right.
It goes beyond the transaction.
Yes.
It
And I
goes
think that's
beyond
somebody
the
with
monetary
integrity,
value.
somebody with morals and values, right?
With
That
it,
is going to
yes,
bother them.
absolutely,
And
absolutely,
again, learning from your people before you, right? Like if you were ever
yes,
to do that, it's like you put that in the
yes,
contract. Like this cannot, whatever, like I know that that can happen, but again, I think that things are so new in this front that
oh
you
yes,
do trust, right? You do think, okay, these people are going to keep my value, and then you're right. Like that poor lady has to like feel terrible about what has happened to
yeah,
the product that she worked so hard to. So
absolutely.
yeah, very, very interesting. I would love to know, what do you use to make your products like smell a certain way? Because that for me, fragrance was something that was a deal breaker from the
Yeah,
original like transformation of like us going non-toxic, because my daughter had something called non-allergic rhinitis. That was what she was diagnosed with, which was basically no, very sensitive to like smells and things like that. And so like fragrance was the first thing that I ditched. And it's infuriating to me because people don't understand what that term actually means. And it can mean a lot of different things. And it's perfume, and
yeah,
fragrance. And it's a loophole, basically. It's a loophole for their quote unquote trade secrets so that they can add a bunch of chemicals in without having to disclose it. And I can't remember what year. I want to say in the 80s, that was like a loophole thing that was created. I should have to go back and check my fact, but
check that. Yeah,
I don't know exactly which year, but I know that that was something that took place that is very unfortunate because
yeah.
it harms a lot of people. So what do you use in your products if they do have a scent?
So, like I said, I'm very big on natural fragrances. So we use essential oils. So with our first range, we have the citrus oils, right? So we have the sweet orange, we have the lemongrass, which is one of my favorite, and then we have the grapefruit. The beauty about these natural fragrances, they don't have synthesizers, and I think synthesizers is what makes that creates the allergens in the fragrances. So it's like, again, I say, this is something that I grew up on, natural oils. I remember my mom going to bed and she would put like lavender oil,
Yeah.
just to help her calm down and relax. And so that's what we use. And honestly, it creates the best cleaning experience because of the aromatherapy. But also, when I was doing my research, I realized that, for example, grapefruit has antimicrobial properties, right? And then sweet orange is good at degreasing, and also it, helps eliminate odor. So that's kind of like what we use for our marble and granite cleaner. So all of these benefits, I was like, we don't need to use so many ingredients in this. It's like one one ingredient is doing maybe three or it's efficient in three or more things that it can actually combat. So I that was my whole thing, because most of these toxic chemicals or cleaning chemicals, they have 16 or 15 or 10, more than 10 ingredients in them. So
And half of them you can't pronounce.
that's what we used, yeah, for
And I love that. And I really, really love that you just added that on about, essential oils. Yes, they smell good, but there's actual real benefits to them and they do real things. It's not just for the smell. And I think people who are just maybe just being introduced to essential oils or have never really understood or took a deep dive into them, there's actual properties within them for different things. And so again, if you're new to this conversation, welcome, because essential oils do have a lot of benefits outside of just smelling okay, or smelling good. So I think, if you're just starting out, like research those three, just put a quick search, like what are benefits to, orange, what are benefits to lemongrass, what are benefits, because there are, and it even goes to like the wellness side of things. There's, tea tree oil and frankincense and, before there was medicine, before there was, essential oils, what was used in herbs for a lot of different illnesses and sicknesses. And we've just gotten so far removed from that. So, again, if you're new to the conversation, I would encourage you this week for your 1% shift, just to do a quick little search and see about the essential oils and maybe how one or two could help you in your household. Outside of cleaning products, of course, but, just knowing that there's a benefit to the cleaning side of things as well, which is also in conjunction with your health and wellness, I guess, for real.
Absolutely. What we bring in our homes. And that's what I love about this podcast, Robin. It's really educating, because we're living in a very fast-paced life. Like, people are not mindful. And I honestly, I was part of that. I was really part of that until I started opening my pantry, and I was like, whoa, what have I been eating? What am I feeding my kids? So you become more mindful, and that's more going towards the balanced life that we're trying to achieve. It's never really perfect, but at least being mindful is a start.
Yeah, and I love that. And I think a lot of people tend to start with food because it's something you think about and you do every day. But I would argue, and I would love to know what you think. I think that cleaning products and personal care products are kind of above for a first change. I always say start with your personal care, a cleaning product that can do multiple things. So you're not trying to research we go to the store and we get like marketed duped, which is greenwashing, but like you need this one to clean this and you need this to clean this and you need this. And so then you have 20 different things when really you could have one or two that do everything.
Yes.
So I think those like baby 1% shifts, you do those things and you can start making your home more non-toxic, then the food makes more sense to do, to me, second. Or, one thing in each area kind of mentality.
I like that you brought that up, because when we were just doing our research, we realized that just in an American home, middle class, they're spending about 150 to 200 on cleaning products. And it's because some of them, they're not even using them. But like you're saying, being greenwashed, being sold to, being marketed to. So it's like, use this, use that. That's going to help with this. So actually, that's what my value proposition was. It's like, you don't need to use a lot of products. I mean, our all-purpose does a lot of things, right? It cleans the bathrooms. It's safe. It's safe on wood,
Yeah.
So that kind of thing, I love that you brought that up, because we just buying and then putting it in our homes and not even using it. So from a a conscious saving perspective, that it's actually more value to buy something that looks like it's higher value, but it's sustainable. It works for a lot of things in the home. So.
Right. And I think, that's interesting you bring that up, because one of the challenges I usually get is, a lot of times are really expensive. And I was like, okay, that is true. I'm not going to devalue that because it is true.
Yeah.
However, something that can clean your counters, let's just say, tell me how many products you currently have for that particular thing. So, and then let's add that up. And how does that match up? And I think a
Yeah.
lot of times people just don't, they're just not aware. They're like in a trance of just, they buy it one week, they buy something else the next week, month, and then all of a sudden you've got $100 worth of stuff that's just sitting and not doing anything. So I
And
love that you brought that up.
we're being sold. And
Oh
we're
yeah.
being sold every second.
Oh yeah.
I
100%.
I log on to social media. It's like it's like we live in an attention economy. So, try this, try that. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You end up
And
spending more.
exactly. And I was going to say, it's, and when I'm helping people to get started, it's like, we need to find one manufacturer, one brand, and then you just stick with that brand, right? As you're
Yeah.
transforming over, you just stick with the brand until it becomes part of like just a daily habit and those things. And then
Yeah.
once you're like well versed, then you can maybe try something different or whatever. But I'm like, just for the ease of overwhelm, we're going to swap this out and you're just going to stick with it. If you like it, you just stick with it and you don't think about having to get all these different kinds or trying different things. So it's a lot of um, blocking out that greenwashing type of marketing because it's very easy on Instagram to like click and purchase in 10 seconds and you don't even know what you're doing. It's very
I'm very
interesting how
guilty of that.
yeah, how that's all set up for us to be insane. So
Yeah.
I have a love hate with social media and
Yeah.
technology in general. I think there is good, but I also
Yeah.
think it's crazy at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm like super happy that you had your experience of corporate because I think that's going to help you obviously on the business side. But I also like really just wanted to showcase that we can pivot as women. We can serve people in a different way that fulfills us more. And not saying the journey's easy because it's not, especially being an entrepreneur, there's always challenges. But when you're passionate about something and you're passionate about serving people in a way that's going to help create better homes and better, health for them, it's a good driving force to want to get up and do the challenges, right? And you don't burn out as quickly or as much. And you also, if you've already had burnout, or how to start sustaining yourself. So your health matters, and we have to remember that in any position that we're in, whether we're a stay-at-home mom, a corporate mother, an entrepreneur, an influencer, whatever you do, you have to remember your health comes first so that you can show up, in your best version for your family and your community. So with that, I would love to ask a couple of your non-negotiables that you have created for yourself that allow you to thrive with the best wellness for yourself at this time in your life.
So my non-negotiables is actually giving myself time off,
Mm-hmm.
switching off if I need to. If my body tells me I need to rest, I will take it as an entrepreneur because I think most of the time it's like, no, keep going. This needs to be done, that needs to be done. So that is a non-negotiable for me. Um, Another non-negotiable is I will have holistic living in my home. So the products that I bring into my home, I will read. I will read. I will know what is in them, be it for my hair, for my makeup, everything. If right down to I love perfumes. I'm very obsessed with perfumes. But I've started reading. I've started just searching on what the process
Mm-hmm.
of making those perfumes. So I will not negotiate on the product that comes into my home. The products that I buy for my kids, it's super, super, super important. I'm not saying my kids do not get sick, but we've actually seen a decline in illnesses, the colds and the flus and, the sinuses or whatever. But I do have a toddler and they do go to daycare. They do bring some sickness here and there.
Which is
But
okay because it builds their immune system. But
it builds the
they
immune system, yes.
that's right. But
But
they
its
do
environment, it has to be conducive for them to actually heal too. So
exactly. Yep.
yes, so I that those are my non-negotiables. And in with regards to the business, we will continue to do the small batch approach, because for me, that is definitely a non-negotiable on the quality control. We will still put our product for any new ranges that we come up with. We will still go through the R&D process, right, to make sure that it is aligned with our standards and our blueprint of it being natural. So those are basically my non-negotiables for now.
Oh, I love that. And so if someone is looking to follow you, see your content, purchase from you, where can people find you? I'm going to put it all in the show notes. So if you're driving or whatever, you don't feel like you have to freak out and get out your pen and paper or your phone or whatever. I'll put it all in for you. But where can people find you?
So they can find us on cleaningmama.com on our website. You can follow me on LinkedIn too, Mona Murahwa. And then on Instagram, it's Cleaning Mama Products. And then I have my personal Instagram, which is Mona Murahwa. I'll be happy to answer any questions that the consumers have, because I think that collaborative conversations helps us to become a better brand in the natural, cleaning product space.
That's amazing. And, so again, if you're someone listening and this is kind of new to you, or you're just looking to try something new, definitely reach out and ask the questions that you might have. Because obviously just from listening to Mona, you know that she is interested in educating and helping you guys to understand. So last question, what is your favorite cleaning product so far that you've created?
That's a good one. That is a good one. I would say the floor cleaner.
Okay.
I love it. I feel like after cleaning everything and then you do your floors and you relax, the smell, just feeling like it's clean. And honestly speaking, it just feels like there's clean air in my house.
Yeah, I love that.
It's the air quality that I feel is just enhances. So I would say the floor cleaner is my favorite. But a lot of consumers are actually saying it's the all-purpose. So, each one has the all-purpose cleaner.
All-purpose. Okay. So I was going to ask, what are all the products you have? You have floor, you have all-purpose.
We have all-purpose, and then we have the marble and granite.
Okay, marble.
And so the first range is obviously the fresh scent, which is like the citrus fragrance. Yes.
Great. I can't wait to try those.
I am so excited for you to try them.
Yes. And after I do try them, I will probably add something on to the end of this podcast, just to give you guys my review, and then obviously, put a link for you guys to go purchase. We did not talk about this, but would you like to extend some kind of a discount to people who do purchase for their first time?
Yes, we do give 15% off if you purchase for the first time. And we do encourage, consumers to subscribe, because you get 15% off. Okay. Then you've got your monthly supply of the cleaning products.
Okay, perfect. And I'll put those, you can just send me the code or whatever, and I'll put that in the show notes so that people can find it there as well. Do you have anything else to share before we end this amazing conversation?
This being my first podcast, this has been phenomenal. You're phenomenal. What you're doing in this space is very transformative, especially, I would say, probably dads listen to your podcast too, but I would say to women, this is like a safe space for us to come and talk about what we go through, because our cycles, everything is so different from a man's perspective. And I definitely do love this. And I encourage people to listen to this podcast. I was listening to you all night last night, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is what I need.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, because that is the value that I hope people walk away with, is that, we as women are different, but that toxins, environmental, pesticides, food, they do matter. It really does affect us, and our hormones are more sensitive in midlife as we are like going through perimenopause and post And, you know,
Yeah.
as our body is cycling and not cycling and things like that, like we don't have a 30-day cycle. Like we literally have 4 cycles in a month, and we were never
In a
taught that
month.
as
Yeah.
kids. And it's something that I think needs to be talked about more, especially for our
Yes.
younger kids that are coming up through puberty and getting their periods and navigating that world. They
Yes.
don't understand why one week they have a lot of energy and one week they were like, what's wrong with me? I don't have any energy. And it's like, am I sick? And it's like, no, you're actually just having different parts of your cycle. So it's definitely a conversation that obviously in my algorithms comes up a little bit, but I know that it's not mainstream yet. And I know that toxic chemicals in products, especially cleaning and that floating in your home, is huge endocrine disruptors. And so that is something you need to address sooner than later so that you can create a healthy body. So thank you so much for coming on. It's been lovely talking. It's been lovely talking to you. I've learned so much, and I, again, can't wait to try your products. Y'all have a great week. I hope that you're walking away with a few 1% shifts that you can add to your week. And let us know. You can comment below. You can DM us. We always love to hear from you to see what you're learning, because like Mona said, community and being in a safe space and being able to articulate and talk things out is what this community is all about. So have a great rest of your week, and I will talk to you soon. And thank you so much again.
Thank you.
That episode had so many great takeaways. I hope you feel inspired and more empowered to make small 1% shifts on your wellness journey this week. I'd love to hear what resonated with you. If you want to leave a review, share your thoughts, and let me know how you're going to be implementing these 1% shifts into your life. And don't forget to subscribe and share this episode with another mama who could use a little wellness love. Want to stay connected? Join me on Instagram and Facebook at Live Life Balanced with Robin. Check out my website at livelifebalancedwithrobin.com for more resources, and grab yourself some freebies while you're there. Until next time, I hope you find peace, love, and light by breathing, being present, and allowing for all possibilities to come your way. See y'all next week. Love to y'all.